Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cleaning and Cocktails. You know the deal. I bring on cleaning industry experts, cleaning business owners, people from the facility side, software, manufacturing. But today, I have the pleasure to introduce everybody to Kathleen Waters, the CEO of Facility Partners and Solutions, a 22-plus year veteran in the facility space. But that's where I stop because Kathleen, as I always tell everybody, as I just told you, I'd love for you to introduce yourself because nobody knows somebody's story better than the person themselves. So we always start is where did it start? How did you get into facilities?
I actually tripped into facilities.
Was there a wet floor sign? Was there what? No? Yes? No?
I tripped. I did not slip.
All right.
So, yeah, somebody had an ad for somebody that they wanted somebody with customer service skills. I'm like, hey, I can do that. And ended up being a move consultant. So I relocated people from one corporate site to another, got picked up by a facilities person, and ended up being a facility manager, project manager, the whole kind of gambit. And honed into soft services, so janitorial, security, mail, and that whole bucket of services. And obviously janitorial is the biggest of all those buckets. Security may disagree, but janitorial is the biggest. So that's kind of how I literally fell into it.
Okay. Now, and this is I actually like that I have you on right now, Kathleen, because I haven't really brought on many FMs or PMs, right, or people from the facility management, property management space. So a lot of the listeners are probably dying to work with a property manager or a facility manager, right? There's a difference though. Before we get into the main topic that we're going to talk about, I wanted to use the time because we only have so much time and I have so many questions for the audience. So like a facility manager or a property manager, are they two in the same or are they different? Or what is the difference if there is any?
So there's probably a different skill set, but the business model is different. So in property management, you need to understand leases and tenant space and work with different types of customers and credits when the space is vacant. And there's a lot of different moving parts. And the facility managers, most of what I've worked with have been more in an industry or a life sciences space. And they still have clients, but it's just a different arena. So property management, you still have industry, you can have labs, you can have all of that, but the FM is just a little different. And obviously people on property management say it's easier than on the FM side and back and forth, but you still need to understand all the mechanics and how to manage people and do the vendor management.
Okay. Because when I think of facility management, I think of an in-house FM for a property directly working where like property management, I've worked with many and the process is different, but I think building relationships and what I love about our conversation is going to be you're on the other side now, you're on our side, right? Our side, the good side, I don't know. But how important is it as far as relationship building with an FM and a PM where I look at it as a long game, but how do you look at it as cleaning contractors that are listening in? What are some tips or pieces of advice you would tell them when they're trying to build a relationship with a property manager or FM?
Well, you're touching on some really good buckets right there. So you have property management, which is a lot of BOMA activity. And then you have facility management companies like JLL, CBRE, and C&W. And that's a relationship with a larger corporation. And then you have a direct client. And I'm sure a lot of the suppliers on that are listening probably work for, at some point, one of each of those. So you can work directly with a client, and then you don't have that management person in between. But I think having the relationship with the property manager or with a JLL, CBRE, it's key to to maintain your contract, because if you don't have that relationship with whomever is on your contract, take a risk of not having retained the business.
Yeah, Kathleen, now that you talk on that too, see, again, I love this because you start to think of things. As I'm thinking of the contract, when I have our PMs that we work with, and well, both of them actually, really, these are the two clients specifically, especially the PMs. They're looking at the contract. Right, they're looking at the scope of work and they're reviewing it with you. Where a lot of my private sector clients or direct clients, like you were saying, they may not look as much. Right, we don't review it on a quarterly basis. Our PMs are like, they call us out on it all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because they have something else that they're doing, and it's all metrics driven. When you're looking at that kind of relationship, it's more metrics driven because they need to be accountable to their contract. And a lot of times when you're private direct with the private sector, some do, some don't.
Yeah. Oh, you know what too? I'd love your piece of advice on, or your expertise on this is tenants. So obviously in many of our contracts, I'll just do shared experience from contracts that we've had. In the beginning, we didn't really think about the tenants as much, right? We were thinking about our relationship with the property manager or the facility management company, right? Like we have to serve them, we have to please them. And then always like, oh my God, but the tenants are never happy. There's a disconnect between the scope of work, right? All this stuff going on.
Yep.
How do you balance that though, would you say, to a contractor? Like how do you serve the tenant and as well at the same time serve the PM? They're both your clients. I would look at it as a BSC.
They are both your clients. Obviously, you have to adhere to the scope of contract that you are contracted for, because your tenants may want up here and you're contracted for somewhere down here. But my view is your frontline staff can sync your account or they can help you retain your account. And I mean that by how your front staff interact with either the building occupants or the tenants. It's really, really key, because if they're not happy with how you're treating them or you missed a paycheck, they're going to go chirp in that person's ear.
Yeah.
And it loops all the way back around. So you have to empower your employees to engage without affecting productivity. Without affecting productivity. It's a fine line, but they need to understand that they're just as important as anybody else. So you train your front staff, but you have to make sure that they understand not to do more than what they're supposed to do, and let you know when there's special requests. And that's where you can get some of your add-ons and everything by using that, because you don't want to give the farm away. But they're really your front line is your bread and butter, in my opinion. I mean, that's how you engage with the tenants. And you need to make sure that you obviously have that relationship with your client and that you touch base with them. It's not like just signing the contract and walking away. You have to have that relationship.
So Kathleen, let's talk about, I got goosebumps because I'm thinking of some cool stuff here. So training, right? Training. So again, what I didn't know. But now as we've gotten more larger commercial properties and some larger square footage and we're dealing with PMs more, we've learned now within our company is we have to train that on-site supervisor or that team lead of that building differently, where they have to look for things differently. And when I mean look for opportunity, it's like you said it, serve the client to a degree. You cannot do this if they're only paying for this. But you don't have to speak to it. But what would you say, like, what's a good approach, or what are some good training tips for the on-site supervisors on how they can be engaging with the client? One, to engage and be respectful and do their job to be a good face of the company. But two, to give us the opportunity to make more, right? To upgrade, to sell more. And because you said it, the services are there. They may request it. How do we get in the habit of training supervisors to not be salesmen, but again, looking for opportunities?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I really think having that, I call it a joint audit. Some contracts call it out, some don't. But if you have your supervisor, your area manager, walk with your client at least once a month and do a formal audit of how you're performing, it takes them an opportunity. It's like, you know what? We see that there's some high dusting that needs to be done. We're contracted up to 6 feet. Do you want us to give you a quote? We see that our spot cleaning and our carpet, it's not really working over here because of the high level of traffic. Do you want me to give you a quote to shampoo it? It also makes sure that you're on the same page for delivery expectations. And it gives you an opportunity, especially at the supervisory level or the area manager, to have that engagement with the client, and that they also feel like they're being heard. Yeah. Whether or not they get what they want, that's beside the point, as long as they're heard. And then it also kind of flushes out anything that might be going on that they didn't tell you about.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. People, take notes. You better be taking notes here, right? So another one though. Here now, let's talk about You see how I went off topic though? Like we've got a whole
That's
section.
all right. I'm
We
like,
have a
we're
whole
not talking about anything that we talked about before, so we're good.
All right, so last thing that we're going to jump into, because I do like,
Oh, don't worry about it.
I do like the items that we wanted to talk about earlier too. Is all right. Talk to me about I win a 100 location account, right? And I'm talking from experience ourselves, right? Is I feel like you have to treat that differently because now, to your point, yes, it's awesome. I could do an on-site audit at that one building that's 50,000 square feet. You got one POC, super simple to adhere to expectations. What about 100 locations, 4 different regional directors? You got 2 PMs that are assigned to it. Nobody's on the same page. Everybody thinks their service is this, that. Like you can't get to all of them, Kathleen, right? I can't do audits on every single one. Is there a tactic, a certain strategy that you would say is a good way to do it?
I think you also have to, at that point, lean on some technology. So
I didn't make you go that direction. Obviously,
no,
right?
no, but you know what? There's a lot of great technology route that's out there. You want to make sure, especially if it's smaller locations, use some kind of geo-tracking, geo-fencing so that when your client says your person wasn't there, you have either you're right, but you should be telling your client before they tell you, but using some of that technology. And I really, if you're in a space where you can take pictures and your frontline staff are willing to use their cell phones or a tablet or whatever, get some of that kind of validation of what the space is. And I know that it can be difficult when you're looking at bank branching or utilities where it's very small space and it's spread out, but you have to be able to put some kind of technology in place to stay ahead of the game, especially if you're looking at a portfolio of 100 locations, because I'm sure that client is looking for some kind of validation.
Again, nuggets, guys. Let's get to one of the main things that a reason why I wanted to bring you on and a lot of the benefits to what I believe your transition into the BSC side now. So for everybody to know is I met Kathleen when she was at JLL, in charge of procurement director and global operation. I mean, there was a lot going on when I met you. And by chance, I think we only had 1 or 2 talks and you made the transition and how open you were to have dialogue with me. We kept in communication, bringing that over to now you being on the facilities side and as a BSC, you were in the Army, women-owned business, LGBT, right? There's a lot of things that you've taken advantage of very quickly, may I say. I don't think you've even been in business 1 year and you've got more certifications than I do. So let's talk about diverse certifications and the benefits of taking advantage, not just applying to have it. How does one now then get after it and actually take advantage of it? I know that was a lot. I said a whole lot of things there.
No, that's all right. So I think being on the site in JLL and kind of vetting out some of the suppliers, there's certainly different things that will call somebody out. If you're diverse, if you're depending on what industry you're in, a small business, what's your geographical area. But there is a huge value in having a certification. There are many, many companies that are looking to increase their diverse spend, whether they're going after sitting at the billion-dollar table or not. There's a lot more awareness around social and community and all of that kind of stuff that corporations are looking to bring to light. And they have targets. They have 20%, 30% of their spend across the board needs to be with a diverse entity. And that goes for municipalities as well. I'm in New Jersey. There are at least 5 counties that I know that have set-asides for diverse companies. So that means they have a target of so much of their contract spend has to be with a diverse entity.
So Kathleen, now I'm a big advocate. We've got every certification. I'm starting to now take fully advantage of what we have in front of us. But what about to those, me and you have talked about this, where it is not easy to get certified. For those small SMBs, I feel bad. It's difficult. They may never become certified because of how difficult it is, right? The process. How is it worth their time to take that time to do it? What are the chances, for an example, of a $500,000 a year contractor to win a set-aside contract with a municipality or a other different entity through direct? I'm talking one-on-one, not being a sub of another larger contractor. How likely is that to happen?
So I'll tell you the first thing that I found, I know about the national certifications. So you have WeBank, you have MBE, you have the
NMSDC, right? NMSDC is what?
Yes. So, but I found out states have their own state certification. So I got online, I put it in for New Jersey, and I would say within a couple of weeks, I was certified. So that counts for any municipalities that I'm going for in New Jersey, and it was completely free.
Okay.
So now that doesn't give you the opportunities to network. So I'm part of NGLCC, which is the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. And I came out of their conference a couple of weeks ago. There was over 1,500 people there, major corporations that I got to sit down with in matchmaking sessions and tell them about facility partners and solutions. So yeah, the certification for that is a little more rigorous, but there are support systems. And I would suggest getting a hold of your local chamber. So I found out through the Veterans Chamber that's in New Jersey, the Gay and Lesbian, the Pride Chamber. There are minority, there's Latino, there's all of those kind of chambers. They are there to help you, along with the Small Business Association. In addition, a lot of corporations will help too, because they're eager to support.
Now,
there's a lot of resources.
There's people out there, and I hear it all the time, and I'm seeing the blogs, I hear it on the podcast too. Kathleen is like, there's a lot of people that talk about it though, right? They say they have a set aside, they speak on it, but when it comes down to delivering it, again, to that point of they give it to the large contractor, and then the large contractor calls you up. And so how can one, is that just a part of doing that business and you got to do it and suck it up?
So initially, yeah, you got to suck it up. And I'm learning that too, because I'm like, oh, I'm going to go after government contracts because I'm in, the sam.gov. I learned very quickly, yeah, it's a set aside. There's big business out there. If you can get into working with a prime as a subcontractor, especially diverse, it gives lick that they have the tier 2 spend. You might, especially if you're just starting out, you're going to have to do some subcontracting, but you will get there. Please don't forget to directly try to go with people and get a direct contract. Most larger corporations in the private sector have a diverse supplier portal that you need to sign up with. I put my name in. I put our company's name in for a university in New Jersey. About 3 weeks later, they called me to walk a job.
Okay.
I was
So
like,
it's like,
holy crap.
it's working. It's okay.
It's working.
So like you said, is you got to go through some of these hoops. Is again, back to subcontracting in general, Kathleen, right? It's a learning process. You learn it first so you can get the chance to go ahead and do it yourself first, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, Kathleen, we're going to take a quick break so we can hear a word from our sponsor. And at the same time, so I can clean up the mess that I just dropped. If you saw me looking down, I dropped my drink for the first time in 60 episodes. I've never dropped my drink.
Yay!
I dropped it. Oh. It's all over the freaking table here. So, okay, guys, we're going on a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for bearing with me. As I told you, I spilled that drink. I had to clean up aisle on aisle 1, as they say. But we are back with Kathleen here, and we wanted to take this half of the show, guys, and go deeper into, again, the diverse certifications, how to win that business, how to perform that business. And I want to start with the service delivery portion. Kathleen, is there things that stand out? You're being awarded this business for having a diversity entity and things like that, right? Is there any other different expectations, or are you delivering this contract the way you would deliver any other contract?
It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if you're diverse or purple. If you can't perform the job, it's not going to make a difference. So you got to make sure that your quality is there and that you can meet the contract's expectations. Having a diverse certification gives you just a little edge. But like I said, you'll get thrown out like anybody else that can't perform. It doesn't matter.
Kathleen, is there any websites? I know we talked about some organizations. Any others that you could start throwing out there for people as they're listening so they know organizations to sign up to, have the email newsletters to come in? Like, what should people be signing up for?
So honestly, you need to look at what kind of diverse bucket you're in. And the thing that I found coming into this, I was only going to get diverse certification in 2, LGBT and veteran, because I know they're underutilized. They're like 3%, where the MBE and the WeBank is 35, 40%. Because I'm a little different, Ricky. I'm just a little different.
Not too different. Come on.
So, but what I found is the more certifications, the better. And I'm like, okay, great. So again, I started at the state level. If you are like a woman-owned business, there are regional and national organizations and chambers. You want to connect with them because you're going to get the support of people that have been there. You're going to get access to companies that are looking for that diverse certification. And believe it or not, a lot of companies, the enterprises in the private sector, they have your procurement and your sourcing over here, but they have a whole supplier diversity group over here.
Yep.
And their whole goal is to find the diverse suppliers. That's their goal. And they will help you. So you got to go in and put your name and your company in their portal and everything. But if you can get that person's name, they really do want you to succeed. And I had heard that very loud and clear at the last conference. It was just really empowering to hear that they're there to help you.
Yeah. What about, so this is a 2-part. This is share from your experience of working on, again, the PM FM side. Mm-hmm. And now having the diverse certifications. What kind of messaging? Do you do messaging in a unique way because you know what a PM or a FM is looking for? And on top of that, is there a different message you should be conveying because you're a diverse entity? Like, how big is messaging?
So all of my branding that I have for the company has the diverse certifications, but it also has, I'm part of IFMA, and I'm going to butcher this up. The
BSCAI, come on. You know I'm a big Jesus.
I know you are.
Look,
I know you
You're
are.
probably going to say ISSA is ISSA, right? I've heard ISSA before. No, you know it. Come on.
Yeah, I was able to join those, but I am part of the Small Business Association. So I put those icons, I put their logos out there. I don't really have to speak to it. I think my tagline is your diverse facility partner. I take a lot of pride in the fact that I'm diverse and I run the company.
Yeah.
So because being on the other side, I have run into companies that aren't necessarily run by the diverse entity.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So they do them. I'm going to do me because I know when I was on that side, when I worked with JLL, I know the things that I was looking for in a diverse supplier. I also knew what I was looking for in a regional supplier and who would do work in life sciences or in whatever sector. But it's really important that the person who is diverse has a vested interest in it and knows the industry and is there.
Okay. So to continue down that path, Kathy, like how important do you think like somebody's website and then the way they present their story is? You know me, I'm a big storyteller. I lead with that, but does that really impact a PM's decision? How big of an impact is somebody's story and brand?
So I would go to a website, absolutely. So if you don't have a website that at least has the image that you want to present, if you don't have some kind of branding, like Route, you have that on everything. Cleaning and cocktails is part of your brand. So your facility partner is my brand. That's my website. You need to kind of take care of that because if somebody goes to your website, it's broken or it's 10 years old, it doesn't give the appearance that you care. It doesn't mean that you don't have to change it all the time. Don't get me wrong, but it's got to look crisp. And put your certifications out there. Put on your website. Don't be shy on that. Put your services, put what region you do, and be very consistent in the look of your message.
Now, I like the consistency part too, like that, and that takes time. I'll tell you, for somebody like us, right? Like you would think we're on top of it every day, but it's work, man. Like we know when we go a couple months without updating our website or some of our team don't have their profiles updated. It's a job to remind those people and remind that department because you'd be surprised. You could go a whole year and you didn't get something updated, and that moment is the time somebody checks you out and you're like, oh shit, I wish they wouldn't have. So to that point though, LinkedIn, let's talk about LinkedIn. I feel like that is the number one resource for people to make the right connections. How important do you think it is for, in our industry as a BSC, to have their LinkedIn profiles up to date?
So in my opinion, the LinkedIn is more important than the website. You want to have the website. I mean, somebody's probably going to Google you, but honestly, the connections that you have on LinkedIn will just get that ping out there. And the more you grow your network and you kind of consistently put a message out there, it's just going to be in the back of their mind like, oh yeah, I saw that. And they might go and look you up. So last year I made a conscious decision to grow my LinkedIn network because I knew where I was going. And so I pushed it and I pushed it. I'm in a pretty decent space now, and I have a goal to post at least once a week. If I've got more going on, like when I was at the conference, I had a lot going on. Personally, for me, Instagram, I don't know. But LinkedIn, and if I can get an opportunity to connect with somebody, I do. And that's the other thing when you're starting to grow your business. And if you've been in the business for a while and you have a network, lean on them to help you grow your network.
Think about it, Kathleen. You said it. 20 plus years on the side of FM and PM. Again, those are different network, right? You had to start not over, but your network on the property or the BSC and facility management or contracting side is different. It's probably light, right? It's not too much. So you're starting over, right? So you really know how to speak to where some of these cleaning business owners that are a year or two in, they're frustrated, they want to really hit a certain mark. What can you share about being patient to the smaller contractor?
I would actually just, as opposed to being patient, I mean, patience, it's taken me a long time.
Maybe the other P word, be persistent. No, I'm kidding.
You absolutely have to be persistent. Don't get discouraged. So I set myself a goal to make 3 to 5 phone calls a day. And that's actually outside of my comfort zone for what I'm doing because I'm selling the business now. And it's not cold calls, but it's like calling people and seeing, hey, how's it going? It's that relationship part again. Especially in cleaning, when you're looking to service enterprise cleaning, large companies, property management, it is relationship. It's not like, if a $3 million contract was to land in my lap today, I would probably crap my pants. It's a long sales cycle. And I'm like, you know what? They're like, well, we just awarded the janitorial contract. I'm like, okay, if I can't be first, I want to be second. I've actually offered to go walk sites for clients and say, no strings attached. Just let me go give you some feedback. And part of me is there's enough for everybody. So I know we have competition out there, but I partner with competition as well because I'd rather have...
we've partnered already.
I'd rather have 30% of something than nothing of all,
I feel it's a new era of collaboration and people working with each other. Like I remember literally 5 years ago when I first started doing events and going to conventions to where we are now. You're going there, your colleagues, these are your friends, these are your peers. Like you're sharing information. I got text message threads going. Today, I'm going to have like 15 cleaning companies here in the next hour, all women cleaning business owners that are in town for an event that they want to learn commercial. They want to collaborate. They've already met each other 2 years ago at our first Cleaning and Cocktails. It becomes a reunion to share new ideas, right? And get ahead, sub-business to one another, right? So yeah, I'm excited about where it's going. Where, if you can share, because you know the other side too, right? I keep referring to. I love that you get two sides here. This is great. I don't get this too often.
I came over to the bright side, right? Is that what you're saying?
For sure.
Okay.
You alluded to it earlier as patience and persistence. Is there an average time? Could you say it takes 3 months before you start getting some responses and activity going with a client who is a PM? Like, do they get inundated with a lot of messages?
Oh, yeah, they get inundated. On the other side, yes. Everybody wants to get a hold of that FM or that procurement person or that category manager. I think for me, when I was a category manager, when somebody would shotgun a marketing email to all the procurement people, it drove me crazy because all those procurement people would email me saying, do you know this person? So I would say the first thing that you want to do is you want to find out the right person to contact.
Okay, I was going to ask you that.
That's going to get, the right person to contact. And it could start with the supplier diversity person. If you're not a diverse supplier, look at sourcing person or a category management person and ask them, are you the right person? But shotgunning marketing email because your marketing software spit it out, I never had time for that.
And then, so Kathleen, I love you use some terms there. Again, let's peel back the onion a little bit. So, and it's funny because supplier, when I first got in the business, I thought of a supplier as a chemical supplier, an equipment supplier, right? Vendor, same thing. And so the cleaning contractors that are listening and watching, a cleaning contractor in the world of procurement is a supplier, right? They are a vendor. right? And then you said category manager, asset manager. Like, explain those two titles within procurement.
So usually in procurement for your larger spends like grounds, snow, pest control, mechanics, they have a person that is dedicated to drive the strategy of that spend. So I had janitorial. And it was a huge spend. And so I had a strategy of how the company was going to approach providing those to the people that within the company that had to manage that supplier base. So I was not the only gatekeeper, but I had an opportunity to vet suppliers out and make suggestions out to the accounts for what they needed, what would be the best supplier slate for janitorial suppliers. So if it was education, which ones of our suppliers had experience in higher education or experience in life sciences. So that person is a really good person to get to know.
And so to segue, Kathleen, so you said it, like normally a contractor that has experience with education is going to get a better opportunity at winning that bid because they have that experience. So again, to the point of why I agree with you 100% on become a sub, because that may be the only way you do get that experience, right? Because you may not be able to get that on your own. Because I gotta believe that is important, right? Have you ever seen it where you brought on somebody for an airport contract and they had zero experience of an airport?
Yeah, actually, one of the higher education accounts that I started up brought in a manager that had healthcare experience, completely set her up for failure because she had no idea what happened during the summer on a higher education campus. Oh my God.
It's a whole other game on.
Oh,
I've been a part of that.
Yeah. So if you don't know that, you're not going to be able to be successful. So understanding that, and I never want a supplier to go into a situation where they're not going to be successful. And for me being on this side now, I'm not going to take a contract that I can't be successful at because it's not fair to the client and it's not going to help my reputation. So
No.
I'll turn it down.
100%.
But I'm successful at everything, Ricky.
Right, you can do it all. Put an asterisk because in your case,
There you
you
go.
can do it all. I think it's been less than a year. You are now a facilities partner. So again, for you, you have things to relate to with a lot of our listeners and the people watching that have only been in the business for 1 year. They're excited. They see opportunity. Like you're living in those shoes. You happen to have experience in certain areas that what's coming or how to prepare. What could you tell them or anybody listening, like what makes you excited of being a BSC over the next 2, 3, 5 years? As you see what the industry is looking like?
So I think for me, it's exciting because I think there's more emphasis on treating the front line fairly. And part of that is because the labor shortage, the inflation, you have to learn how to manage retention. So in order to retain your employees, you need to pay a little more attention to them. You don't necessarily have to pay them more. You need to support them. So I'm really excited because I've always been a proponent to that. If you don't take care of your people, regardless of where they are, frontline or not, you're not going to go anywhere. So the last 3 years have really brought to light how to keep employees because everybody bailed because it was down the street, you got $2 more. And honestly, in our business, not everybody wants to clean toilets. Not everybody wants to clean throw up. So you got to figure out how to, you're right, support your staff. And I'm really excited about being able to put programs in place and build that into the culture that FPS has. And it is selfish because if I can get them to be successful, we can do more and we can do more with the staff that we have and we can grow. And if they're happy, our clients are going to be happy. There's going to be less complaints and it just rolls right into that. So that's what I'm really excited about.
So on the frontline technician piece, what ideas do you have coming into this next year or before the year ends? Like a certain training, certain programs, certain things that you're thinking about to help the frontline?
But now you want me to give all my secrets
All
away?
I want everything. I want people to walk out and say, you know what? I got the blueprint from Kathleen Waters. Sounds good. Let's keep going. Nah, one. Give me one. Just give me one.
Honestly, if the person knows how they make a difference. I was working on a pharmaceutical location and I asked the cleaners if they knew what plant site they worked on. Nobody told them that our client made drugs that saved lives.
Wow.
So that awareness type of training, so doing their job allowed our client to do their job better. So I really want to dig into forming that awareness training. So if you're in education, if you're in higher education, you have people working in the dorms. If they do their job properly, it allows the students to do their school and to focus on school.
Make it their class every day, right?
Yep. If you support labs, if you do your job, you can support whatever that company is doing or whatever they're making or inventing.
Yeah.
So they need to understand the importance of their job. And I truly think anywhere that our staff works, it's important. So awareness training is probably my number one.
Well said. If you see a post about Ricky designing an awareness training program, just click over, keep going. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Just share it. Just share it.
I'll
Okay?
share it, right?
Just share it.
No.
But I was really surprised. And I was in a room with 25 employees, and they had
Wow.
no idea what was happening on that.
I'll
plant
tell you,
site.
and to that point, Kath, we literally just had a meeting on the Rosalato side where, again, you're always working to be better. And like the biggest dream and vision I have for our company and others that we talk to and work with is like, imagine you conducting business and training your people to the point where any team member on the field, if they're asked, what's the company's mission? What's the company's values? What does Rosalato stand for? You want them to be able to answer that, right? Again, we know it's a big dream to have, right? Like, you're hiring so quickly sometimes. And
Yes.
the team is growing, but to a degree, you want to hit that refresh and reset and always be training so that maybe 2 out of 5 say it, right? 3 out of 6 or something where you know that, it is working, right? Versus 0. And it's like, well, what the heck? Like, it
Well, I
hurts.
think
It hurts. I feel like it would hurt. It would hurt you.
It brings up a really good point is that you also have to keep touching base with them. It's not training once and done. You need to keep touching base with them. And the other thing that made me think about this was if you don't have your employees in uniform, a t-shirt, a polo shirt, a smock with your logo on it, if your client allows you to, you should. You're missing the boat.
You're missing the boat.
You're really missing the boat
1000%.
because
I don't
it
brand.
create-
I don't make
No.
people wear stuff. That's not what I do.
But it also helps them feel like they're part of a family, you
No,
know,
it does.
that they're part of something instead of just out there on their own.
Like, I think it was my wife or my cousin said, Rick, you know what we should do on our applications or when we hire somebody, we should let them know that due to working at Rosalato, you will save 20% on your apparel because you will be in Rosalato gear all the time. It's like, we're actually saving
I
you
love
money.
it. I love it.
No.
I love it.
All right. Well, Kathleen, as we wrap up here, I wanted to give you the space of just any last minute tidbits or pieces of advice or shared experience that you want to give to the Cleaning and Cocktails family.
Just be support for each other. If anybody out there has any questions, I'm on LinkedIn. Reach out to the people that are in the same business that you're in. If you're struggling with something, let's lean on each other. I mean, it's all just going to be for the best. And be transparent as well, because it's tough as it is, and we just don't have to make it any tougher, in my opinion.
Nice. Well said. Well, Kathleen, I just realized we definitely can't end here like this. We did not even cheers in the beginning.
Oh, wait,
I
I drank. Hold on a second.
I know. I see it. What do you mean? I see an empty glass there. Don't think I didn't see that. So, cheers to you in the 20 plus
Thank
years
you.
you've had in the industry. And now, cheers to you for coming over to the bright side.
The bright
Call it
side.
The bright side. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you taking the time, especially this is your first year in business, so I know how busy you are right now. But as you just said, you're not too busy to not be there to help people and support people. You know, I already know it. I don't have to ask you. I'm going to put your information in the description below.
Yep.
So everybody, you heard her. Reach out to Kathleen. She's a wealth of knowledge, especially for those that are interested to learn more about the property management, facility management side, diverse certifications. Reach out to
Absolutely.
her. Shoot her a message. Kathleen, cheers.
Thank you, Ricky.
Cleaning and Cocktails, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you, and we'll be on to the next one.